Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another chapter of Experiencer Interviews. And today we've got another lovely soul coming to us from the US. We have Roberto Gaetan on board today. Originally from Cuba, Roberto had his first sighting at the age of 5. He came to the US at the age of 11 as a concert pianist and got involved in religious studies. However, at the age of 13, he began to study any material on that matter. This search led him to further interest in aliens until July of 1973, when he had his first astral flight to Venus, Saturn, and Mars. This was followed by UFO sightings and meetings with aliens, both also with witnesses. Contacts, sightings, and astral flights continue to this day. Career-wise, Roberto switched to science, spending time at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory as an intern on the Voyager and Viking programs. He worked in the aerospace sector, developing flight technologies, science and astronomical research, and in advancing information systems. So, Roberto, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. And thank the listeners also. I am at your fullest disposal and ready to serve.
Thank you. Now, regarding your childhood in Cuba, did anything otherworldly happen during that time?
Well, the first experience I recall is when I was 5, and it was a very interesting upbringing because this is something you just don't talk about down there. First, you're a nutcake if you do. Second, the government is going to get after you because the only thing the government wants you to think about is the regime and hate Americans. It's all you want to talk about. So here I go, 5, I'm running around the schoolyard, which was every school down there is military. So we're doing military training, playing around with the kids, a little bit of martial arts, and all of a sudden I look north to the sky, not a cloud, about 9:30 in the morning, and I see this light up there. I know now it's a mothership, but it was white. It was standing up vertically. And I guess that it was probably 5-6 kilometers away. Nowadays, I could do a parallax connection and find out a lot of things about it. It was probably about a good half mile long. And it was standing there. When I saw it, it's like my mind changed. Something went like, woof, got into me. And I just stared and I felt this mental energy. It was not talking to me. It was sorting my emotions out. It's like I was seeing myself. And it was telling me, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is okay, this is no, right? Yes, no, yes, no. And it's happening at the speed of light. And I'm just like, like I'm being reprogrammed in a sense. In a positive sense, I was being taught about myself. And then I got this impression, this thing's not from here. Just when that happened, poof, it broke off. I came back to senses. The mothership went like this, and poof, flew off. I estimate today that it flew off at about some 60,000 miles an hour. And from that day on, I was a different individual. I started feeding on anything that I could find, stories about flights in outer space, astronomy. I had to keep it to myself. I could not talk to anybody about this. So I finally get to the States in 69. I start doing my scientific and my music studies. Theology followed. And then the big one, July 13th, mind you, it was Friday the 13th of 1973. And that's when I had the really, really, really big one, which was Venus. So that was my upbringing from a concert pianist to a contactee to an experiencer to a researcher to a theologian, starving to get more.
Since you talked about playing the piano, did you really start to play piano at the age of 3?
Yes. Actually, I started playing the violin when I was 2. And my godfather was the first chair violinist for the Havana Symphony. You can look it up for the year 1959. Mom was a seamstress. He went there to have his suit tucked in a little bit. I saw the violin case. I don't know how I got on top of the table because I was a little tiny shrimpy guy. Got off of the table, opened up the case, took the violin. Don't ask me how I tuned it. I grabbed that big thing. I grabbed the bow. I knew exactly what to do with it. And I started playing Minuet in G by Mozart. Well, my godfather thought, oh, hey, somebody turned the radio on. Then he realized, that's my violin. Who's playing my violin? So he dashed out with Mom. And they both like the big hack draw. Here's the 2-year-old playing that. And Mom says, oh my God, that violin is expensive. You're going to break it. So then she goes to try to grab me. I back away. My godfather was also concerned. I have a concert in 2 hours. Don't break my violin, please. But tries to get the violin. I go to the other corner, to the other, until they finally take it from my hands. But I'm playing all along, no problem. And then my mother said, you're too young to do this. Blackout. I got blocked. So definitely, that was a negative force that just cut it off. But at the age of 3, the urge came back. And I started to peek through a window. A little girl was studying piano. Well, I took mental notes of everything she was being taught, how she plays her hands, the fingers, everything else. I went home, drew a keyboard on the dinner table. And by memory, I didn't write anything down. By memory, this is A, this is B, blah, blah, this is how you move your fingers. These are the exercises. It was Hannon's technical exercises. Da, 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 da. Well, I started doing that on my own. Well, my parents thought, well, this guy is just obsessed with music. We got to do something. So at the age 5, they take me to the Havana International Conservatory, which still stands. I go to the director of the school, saw me and said, come here, little kid. Let me see your hands. So she sees my hands, skinny fingers, long fingers. She starts touching hard. And she says, don't lie to me. You know how to play, don't you? And I said, yeah. What do you want to hear? I said, oh, just go ahead and play. I started playing. It was the first time in my life that I heard my own music because I did not have a piano. She went like this. Tomorrow you're playing in a recital. I said, oh, what kind of piano is that? I had no idea what a recital was. I thought it was a piano brand. So my parents decked me up, tie, suit, everything else. So I go, little shrimpy guy by the piano. And I found out what a recital was. 15, 20 of the kids were playing along with me, and I was the last one. So I remember the girl just before me, she messed up pretty bad. And she came back to the back room and she was crying. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. And threw herself on me, crying tears. And I go, oh my God, is this what I can expect? Well, I did not even know there were people outside listening to this stuff. She said, there's people out there. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. Well, she never continued piano. That was it. But I was next. I go out there and I look at the amphitheater, I look at the people, I go, why do they want to hear me? I was like innocent. So I play, they applaud and everything else. But that's how I started my music career, all on my own. I learned my own theory, my own technique. The thing is, I remembered, and this is the part of the past life experiencer, that I remember the violin, I remember the piano, and now I remember why. It took me some 50 years to figure it out, but through not recognition, but flash visions, I've been able to not only see it, I've been able to prove it.
So which past life was a contributing factor to you being a prodigy at that age?
Well, the first past life, it's hard to look up, but the name is Giuseppe Valentini. Giuseppe Valentini was a master concert violinist in Italy, and he was in charge of the Italian Arts Conservatory up north in Italy. He was followed by Sincerity and other musicians. There were two visions of this lifetime. One, I was writing Legacy number 3, and like everything else that I wrote in Legacy, I'm like oblivious to what I'm writing, and all of a sudden, I am told, you live the life of Giuseppe Valentini. I thought I knew everybody on the list. Music history was one of my things. Tell me somebody I knew where they lived, when they died, everything. Their songs. Giuseppe Valentini, who was he? I had no clue. Well, I started looking it up and I found out. Well, I don't trust anything. So I said, okay, fine. Giuseppe Valentini, okay, great. And then I started remembering that since I was a little kid, I heard these classical music songs in my head all the time. I didn't know who wrote them. It was Giuseppe. Giuseppe's music. And then I had this dream where I was a little kid and I was playing on a harpsichord. And right next to me and I knew his name, Master Bononcini. I didn't know who he was. Well, Mr. Dubious has to figure it out, has to prove it. I wake up, I go to Google, Bononcini, who was he? Well, he was the master teacher for Giuseppe Valentini. Bingo. Okay, figured out. The next life was actually another individual who is quite visionary, brought to my attention that I had an association with Tchaikovsky. Now you're gonna love this. Listen to this. This is really interesting. So Google again, a little bit of ChatGPT, figured it out. Alexei Sofronov, Russian. He not only helped Tchaikovsky with his clothes and his strips and everything, he also helped him write some of his music. So they were like co-authors. Didn't know this. When Tchaikovsky died, Sofronov kept up his clean Russia estate and helped reproduce his music, make it famous. So that was Alexei Sofronov. Okay, get this. You probably heard of Madame Levine. Madame Levine was one of the world's greatest pianists of all time. Tchaikovsky and Alexei Sofronov were her teachers. Now, Madame Levine had two students in the U.S. One was Eugene Miller, and the other one was Van Cliburn. Eugene Miller was my teacher in the U.S. Not only that, now here goes a firebomb for you. You've heard of the name Vaughan Williams, the guy that wrote the music to Indiana Jones, Star Wars, some of these high-ended gamma movies. He is the reincarnation of Tchaikovsky. And Van Cliburn was also Vaughan Williams was also associated with Madame Levine. And Master Bononcini is a friend of mine, lives in San Diego.
Amazing synchronicities. Wow.
Yeah, and there was always a priest present during those study sessions in Italy, always, because the church regulated how you played, what you played, how you composed, how you behaved, everything. They controlled everything. Well, that priest looked today like he did back then, right down to the hairline. Perfect. It's a friend of my friend.
Wow.
What's the saying that water sinks its own level?
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Okay, well, let's get back to the contact event in 1973, July 13. What happened?
Well, I was in the living room. We were watching television, parents and I. This was in Whittier, California, and I'm looking at the TV, and then to the side, out to the south, was a row of windows, and I started seeing these lights moving. Some would move across, move up, approach, get back up again, and I go, "What is that?" I was new to UFOs, so I go to my parents. "Hey, look, there's something going on outside," and my parents were like, "Zombie." "Hello, anybody home?" Something's going on here. So I open up the door and I look outside, and sure enough, discs, some as close as half a block away. They would show up and leave. Some others will come. We're not talking dozens. We're talking hundreds. Hundreds. Cars are passing by a lift on Beverly Boulevard, north end of Whittier. They're not reacting. It's 9 o'clock at night. Well, okay, so I rush. I go grab my telescope, my room. I rush out. My parents were gone. With the telescope, I go downstairs into the street level. I'm watching them. I'm watching these discs. I try to look for windows, see who's there. Just bright lights. All of a sudden, I'm handling the telescope and like I'm dead sleepy. I can barely stand. So something tells me, get back in the house. So I grab the telescope and I slowly start going back up. I didn't make it. At the door frame, oof, I dropped. I remember hearing the crushing sound because the door flew open, the telescope fell on the floor. I fell. My parents never heard a thing. Next thing I know is I'm tucked away in bed. I'm wearing a pajama that no longer fit me. Actually, it was unbuttoned. The telescope was neatly in a corner, socks in the shoes, pants folded and shared. That was not me. I take off a sock, it goes that way. I took a shoe, it goes that way. I was 15 years old. I was not very neat. So I'm surprised. How did I get here? Lights are off in the house. I'm watching a clock on my left side, watching a clock. 2 seconds before 10 p.m., I'm out. I go through kind of like a dark room into a light tunnel. I cross the light tunnel. Then I'm in this menagerie house, just a glass house. And I'm looking outside, vegetation, cloudy skies. And then I hear a voice that tells me, you will be returned within 2 hours. You are on Venus. Next thing I know, I'm lying down flat in a prairie. The grass is transparent, like crystalline. There are daisy flowers all around. They're also crystalline. I reach out and I touch their petals. They felt just like petals, but they're crystalline and they emit a light. The flowers themselves notice me and they are intelligent. They turn towards me, they bow, and they throw a fragrance at me. And I'm watching all of this. In front of me, there's a huge rock, kind of like shines on its own. And I go, what kind of a place is this? And then something begins to lift me up on my feet, kind of like a table, until I'm standing up and I feel a presence behind me. And I don't have to turn my head. My vision turns back and I see that there's 5 Nordics behind me. 3 ladies with sandy hair, yellow sash, kind of like a violet, strong electric violet colored dress. 2 gentlemen, white jumpsuit, golden waist, a waist sash, just like the ladies. Long sandy hair to here. They're all smiling. And from there, a very interesting journey takes place. It's too long to mention, but I can say that I spent years there. Been taken here and there. In a mental level I was in, this is hard to explain. I said, okay, I want to go to the lake. I was there. But I also felt that I had other mental levels beneath where on one level I was literally walking there, taking hours to get there. And another one, I was flying. Another one, space was traveling through me. But in the one I was in, just poof, it was instant. We all got there at the same time, but on different timelines. I was many people in one. And those Nordics were at each of those planes conducting me there. So imagine parallel universes. They're parallel planes. So imagine that there's 10, 20, 100 of you doing the same thing, but taking different time. But in the level you're in, you're seeing it happen all at once. And you feel all those 100 minds of yours doing this at the same time. That's how I felt. Explained a lot of how the spirit works, how energy works, how dimensions work. I was told, get in the lake. The lake did not wet. I touched the water, it did not wet, but it felt like water. There was no sense of temperature. There was no sense of air. There was no noise whatsoever, no sound. I was taken to cities. I was taken on board spacecraft. The spacecraft experience was really bizarre because I see this hat-shaped spacecraft with a cabin on top. The cabin is probably, 6 meters wide. But when I looked through the door, it was like 20 meters wide inside. And I look out, small. I look in, huge. Look out, small. Look in, huge. My guys are just cracking up, but in a kind, benevolent way. But they finally said, just get in. So I go inside. closest door, there's a master waiting for me in a chair. I sit by her. Behind me are the controls and the pilot. They all disappear. The pilot and the controls go into another dimension, and now it's just open space inside the spacecraft. They show me how the spacecraft worked. They gave me a formula, which I published all of this. I published the design, the centrifuges, what they contain, the main solenoid, Faraday shields, Lorentz fields, how to create it. It's basically an airfoil. High pressure electromagnetic force below, weak on top, airfoil, just like a wing. Low pressure, high pressure. Causes it to get stuck up. Very simple. Then I am shown what those beings really are. Flames of energy. They took me very close to the fourth dimension. I could not handle it. The shape of walls was just, the walls were going like this. I could not get a sense of fixation on any object. I heard these thundering string-like sounds that made no sense to me. I'm looking at these beings and their flames. They talked to me mentally, and one thought was transmitted everything they had ever been in past lives, plus the knowledge they had now, plus all the knowledge they would have in the future, all in one. It's like being shot with 100,000 volts. I couldn't handle it. So at that point, I get sent back. I'm still in that same position, watching the clock. 2 seconds until midnight. 2 hours exactly. Then I get up and I go, oh my God, I'm back on Earth. No, I don't want to be here. I thought I was already up there. I'm not coming back. No. And then I looked to the front of the bed. The 5 Nordics were there. Live. And they were telling me, take it easy. Don't worry, take it easy. You'll have more contacts. Take it easy. Well, but I want to go back. Take it easy. Bye. No, don't go. Bye. 30 seconds and it started fading away. And I'm left in a room like, oh, bummer. I thought I made it up there. Just then, I get sleepy again, and I see this spacecraft come through the wall. I pass out. Next thing I know, I am on Saturn. Titan, actually. And mind you, as I'm explaining, these are different planes of intelligence, of experience. Your mind is what makes the environment. Our mind here in the physical, we go to Venus now, and it's hot as hell, high pressure. It feels like a tank standing on top of you. But in other planes and other mental realities, no. It's a paradise. More than that, Titan, the same thing. I see this Nordic being standing right next to what I would call a standing bullet, probably about 3 meters tall, 2 meters wide, with the door. I'm asked to look through the door and get in. I look through the door, and again, it's like about 100 meters wide inside. It's like a football field. And here we go again. How does this work? Small on the outside, huge on the inside. How? Well, there was a conclave. It was like an amphitheater, a meeting room. What happened there, I can't tell you. But I got a lesson of things. I got a lesson of prophecies on energy, on telepathy, on the soul. I just didn't go to these places for sightseeing. I went for downloads. And these downloads slowly started coming and coming and coming. And that's what made the Legacy novel series that you've been looking at. It's all the details from these astral travels. In the days that followed, I don't mean to make this too long, but in days that follow, I started getting visitations, physical visitations from these beings. One was easily 7 feet tall, Nordic looking, mm, skinny, sandy hair, deep celestial eyes. Uh, and what I can tell you is that when you are in front of these beings, you're not afraid, you're calm, but they are a mirror to what you are. So your hatreds, your fears, your desires, they rush out because they are strictly sincere. If when a sincere mind touches you, you become sincere with yourself. And that's what we're lacking. So if we were sincere 100% with ourselves, we would be like them. We would have telepathy, we would have greater experiencer type activities. But that was not the only time. Here's the best part. So I'm 17. I'm in high school, Whittier High School, which is on Philadelphia Street in Whittier. I'm in a library with 5 of my buddies, the only people I've ever been able to talk to about this stuff. That I was just nuts. I had to talk about this. So much downloads, so many contacts. Well, they were the only 5s that didn't think that I was a kooky. In the library, of course, we have to. So, sitting right next to the librarian, and it's just the type with the I sit down here and watching and don't talk, don't talk. Well, I'm talking to my buddies about a vision I had just had about the spacecraft turning lake water into a silicate. And that atoms actually have a DNA structure. And if you hit the right frequencies, then the doors open in the atom and it transmutes. We understand it as half-life. It's backwards. Half-life is gold turns into silver, silver into mercury until it gets to hydrogen. Well, there's a way to go back up again. And this is by hitting it with the right frequencies and energies. Well, that was what I've explained to them at the age of 17. All right. All of a sudden, I lift my eyes up, and there, about 50 feet from me, is this young man, young boy, standing like this, books underneath his arm, looking straight at me like this. Got my attention. I kept looking at him. Huh? What? He starts walking my way. Didn't blink, didn't take his eyes off of me. Stands in front of the table and speaks out loud. The librarian said nothing. We were all like super relaxed. Nothing's wrong. Everything's cool. And this guy is talking out loud. He comes up and he literally, well, it's a commanding voice. They have a commanding voice. So he says, those are old spaceships. We do not bring our latest technology to Earth. We have newer ships than this. He then stands back a little bit, looks at me, and says, and I go, uh-oh. I knew I was in trouble. So I told my friends, I'll be back. So I walk out of the library with this kid, and when we got out of the library, He said to me, "You should not be talking about those things. You should keep that quiet. It's not time yet. Keep quiet." A little bit of you should be thinking and talking more about spiritual subjects than technology. And I remember him saying something very impressive. Spirit is not for technology. Technology is for spirit. What he meant to say is put always spirit first and let technology come and aggrandize the spirit, not replace it. And this is why he told me to shut up, literally, about making spaceships. Spaceships, if we had spaceships, we would not be allowed in their world. Not until we change who, what, and why we are. And he gave me the impression that we're like wild animals. Ignorant, innocent, reactionary, and we have no clue why we do what we do, why we react the way we do, why we have desires, fears, and angers. We have no clue. We just let them come up and drive us. Oh, that guy honked his horn at me? Well, I'm going to. That's what we are. We don't know why we do it. We just feel we have to do it, and we do it. We think, oh, it's revenge. We give it a clause word. It's revenge. It's payback. It's self-defense. Yeah, we give them titles, but we don't know what they are. That's what he wanted me to know. And shortly thereafter, I had, with other witnesses, I had contact in the California desert by Desert Center, and another one on I-133 in El Toro, California. I-133 and I-5. Two witnesses in the car. One is a psychology student, and another one is a sergeant major for the Air Force, a specialist in ordnance. He knows what he was looking at. And the object was maybe 10 feet from us. We could see the pilot. Now, after those experiences, it went mostly astral. Mars, Saturn again, Venus, Alpha Centauri, Eta Carinae, Andromeda. But each of these experiences were not, there was no favoritism to this. It was just learning. Learning. One thing I did not mention, I'll take a second to mention it. From the age of 13 to 15, when I really got into theology, all I knew was, well, there must be a God. I have to pray. I have to pray. And this was constant, 24 hours a day, at school, in concert, studying. I was always in my mind praying. I want to know God. 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 I want to, and it was emotional. I would get myself to sleep praying that I would not stop until I was 15 and a half when I had the Venus astral flight. That's, I believe, it's my opinion, that's what earned it. I wanted to know, and it was legit. It was not abusive. It was not selfish. I had a love for knowing the truth. And I'm going to stand up and say this. If you're not sincere, you cannot know truth. Because unfounded truth is a bruise, false wisdom. So I always have to wrap this encasement around what I'm saying, that there's no privilege involved well, Robert was chosen. No, Robert asked for it. And he legitimately asked for it. Now you might want to say, why did he ask for this? Robert remembered. Robert made a big oops a long time ago. Robert was from, and he blew it. And Robert has been trying to get back ever since. I'm not the only one. There are 8.2 billion people on this planet, and the same applies to them. Some are more aware than others. And I don't bring a message. I bring a recall. And the more we are aware of this, the more that we're going to wake up. We can't wake up unless we own up to why we're here. I asked for it. I saw it. I'm dearly, dearly sorry. And it's hard for me to say this without getting choked up. I have proof of it.
Well, is it a form of punishment?
No, it's a form of accepting. Again, it goes back to sincerity. The universe does not condemn you. You cannot extort the universe saying, well, I'm going to pay $100 for this sin, or I'm going to beat myself up to the point I can't walk to pay for what I did. It doesn't work that way. The only thing that the universe expects you to do is to get back on your feet and act the part. Act spiritually, act responsibly. Give, receive, and serve according to what your higher self says. Your wiser part of yourself, not your egotistical desires. So I get choked up because I still have not overcome it. And what I did was pretty bad. Twice. What did I
get into that? Or
I can tell you what, and all of a sudden you're going to connect points A and B. Now, why? Since I was a little kid, the brothers talked to me this way. Remember I said, spirit is not for technology. Technology is for spirit. Well, guess what I did? I gave technology that destroyed thousands of worlds. Let me give you the evidence. Back in 2001, I started writing Legacy, and I saw the destruction of Mars. I saw not only energy, but nuclear attacks. And I knew who had done it. And I knew who made the weapons, who gave the technology. There are 500 million people that died from that attack. Who made the spacecraft? There is a professor, a PhD, Dr. Brandenburg. Look him up. I think he now works for Lockheed. But when he was at University of Tennessee, he discovered clouds of xenon, radioactive xenon, all over Mars. He computed the amount of radiation, which is totally abnormal. It's off the scale. two places. Do you know where the Martian face is on Mars? Sedalia. Maria Sedalia. That's one place. The other one is Galaxia Caos. He calculated, based on the xenon radiation discovered by the Mars orbiter, how much radioactive xenon, and I forget the isotope, is 132, I forget what it is now. But putting it all together, the shocking thing is that there were a total of 500,000 Nagasaki atomic bombs let loose on Mars. The math does not lie. And I did not know this when I wrote Legacy. I did not know about the Hellas Basin impact either. I did not know about the splitting of Valles Marineris. I did not know that beneath Maria Sedalia, there are thousands of rock piles beneath the surface in the mantle, which are 700 kilometers beneath the surface. And they're all spread in a cone pattern. Like something that would happen when you strike a rock and it fragments. And in this case, it would be the nucleus of the planet. The nucleus was destroyed, and part of the nucleus flew off. And that's what we're seeing now. That's why Mars is dead. In 1976, I saw this. I was not asleep. I was awake, but it was the first past life recall I ever had. And it was like video, like a Star Wars movie. Too many details to mention here. If you're interested, I can mention the details, but they're long. But I saw the whole event. How Mars was being attacked, how we went back to try to stop the attack, how we won the battle, but we lost the war. Because they had the last ace card. And you might wonder, who are they? Who did I give the technology to? How long ago was this? Have you heard the term Lemurians? What have you heard about Lemurians?
Other than the, there's the continent of,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about it, really.
Well, my book, Atlantis and Lemuria, you'll find all the details, what kind of species they were, where they were. There's evidence in the Indian Ocean of a continent. There's the geoid abnormality there. Everything points to there, but they are who I gave the technology to, and they used it against us. Now, many people say, oh, Lemurians were gods and they were peaceful people. At first. But like the best civilizations we've had on this world, there's always somebody that wants followers, and there's fools that go follow that person. One person cannot change the world. But those who help them are the ones that change it and are responsible. And like I always say, Hitler could not have done what he did unless there were people helping him. The power of motivation, charisma, and words. Happen in Lemuria. Happen in you. Happen in Atlantis. In Peru. In Egypt. And now, planet Earth. Where do you think we're going to go? What do you think we are trying to do eventually with the technology that we're getting from the Grace? Why are they helping us? What do they want from us? Why are they brewing more and more negativity, aggressiveness within humankind? Why is mankind growing more and more decadent and more warlike every day? Why? Is this on purpose? Are we being careened towards becoming a militant society for some space objective? Look out, because we've already repeated this same pattern 6 times in the past. Look at Pakistan and India. I think that the place called Mohenjo-Daro. Read about it. Read carefully, because most archaeologists are told to be quiet. They only talk about the surface. They don't talk about the bottom part. The bottom part is highly radioactive. There are images, salt glass images of people burnt into rocks. There's 2 places like this. Mohenjo-Daro is one of them. Read the Mahabharata, Drona's dart. Drona launches the dart, and it explodes with the power of the sun. It's blinding flash. And immediately jars begin to crack. After the explosion, they begin to break. The rocks melt. People's hairs and nails fall off. And soldiers, to save themselves, have to throw themselves into the salty sea. This is something that was written at least 8,000 years ago. Read about what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What were the effects of Jonas' dart? So, want any more evidence that we have had savage background? That we have destroyed ourselves many times? Why are we so afraid today of dying in World War III? Is it because it's the first time it happens in our evolution? Or because we've lived it before? And as you can see, evidence points to the fact that, yes, we have. I highly encourage reading that book. You'll be shocked with the past historical records that have been denied most of us. But that's our history. That's my history. It's my testimony, the evidence. And I know at least 3 other individuals who, since they were 5 years old, saw the same thing. We never talked to one another. We have the same history of Mars.
I had no idea that Earth and Mars were populated at the same time.
They were. They were. The objective was first to colonize Earth. There were beings living here, more like less than Neanderthals. There was a crossover between humans and those beings. There were DNA experiments. Many people are right about that. Our DNA got changed up, but there was crossing. It created a human race that was helped to advance, to become Liberia. And those who failed to colonize us here colonized Mars. Cohabitation.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. let's get back to your early days. At what year were you guided to George Adamski's book Inside the Spaceship?
That was July 14th, 1973. I woke up that morning and I had just gotten my driver's license. Don't tell anybody I was 15 and a half, driving without insurance. But anyhow, I had never been to the city library. Never. So somehow, like a zombie, I get dragged into the car and I start driving down Pickering Avenue. And I turn here and I went to Philadelphia Street and then on Bright Avenue, Newland, and all of a sudden right, I'm parked right in front of the Whittier City Public Library. How did I find it? I had never been to a library, so I don't know what was there. Oh, I get in and, oh, really? You have books that I can check out and take home for 2 weeks? What a great idea. Who thought of that? I didn't know. So I get in and I'm like a zombie. I don't know what to do. Somehow, I get turned, go past the card catalogs, go south, go to the darkest spot of the library. There's nobody there. I stop. My right arm begins to go up and down and tap a book. I don't even realize it. All of a sudden, I wake up. My arm is hitting a book. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My arm is hitting a book. I should take the book. Stops. I look at the book. I pull it out. Inside the Spaceships by George Adamski. I've read it like, to me, it was like the best green pea soup I ever tasted. Because what was there was evidence to what I just seen 12 hours prior. The cities, the other planes, how the ships operate. It's like the way the Nordics look, the uniforms are like, oh, and I start crying. I must have read that book 100 times. It was my only friend. It did not influence my thinking. It backed it up.
Can you get into some of the experiences that you had during your tenure at NASA, at JPL?
Sure. I think that the most important was the day that we had uh, the conference from Boyer to findings. So my job there was to oversee technology from a university level. I was attending Cal State Fullerton at the time. Fred Johnson was my signee who basically got me into JPL. And we were developing on a 6502 Apple II computer a simulator. And the simulator took pictures from Mariner and Viking and put them together into a ball. And through a joystick technique, you could actually use the simulator to fly down like a flight simulator and look into Mars, pan here, pan there, click, find out what this is called. That's what the simulator did. So that's what we were doing. Mind you, the visual system, the display system, 1981 was 4K HD. Not lying. You can check this out. The map for the simulator was on 1981 CD-ROM. Connecting the dots? I work right next to what's called the imaging laboratory. You went out the hallway to the left, you went out to the JPL court and out to the exit. To the right, you went to a double door that got you into the imaging lab. There were no cameras, no guards at the time, but you were interviewed going in and out of the building. What did they do there? Have you seen the famous lunar photo smudges? That's where they happened. And so they saw something that was not very conducive to visual acuity. They would take a little simple eraser and they would go like this with some acetone. I don't know what it was, but they would go like this to the image. Oh, it's a photo. It's a camera error. Yeah, we should try again with another spacecraft, another camera. It's a camera error. But what happens when you have the original? Hmm, I could have gotten in trouble for that. Now I have a photograph of a crater. I think it's I can't remember the name of the crater now, Gallius. And Gallius on its western and northern slopes has two walls that are flat, like somebody came with a saw and sliced them down. On the western bank, there's a little thing like a rover. Mind you, this crater is like 100 kilometers wide. It's huge. It's like a little rover. And off the rear of the rover, there's this huge cloud of dust coming off the crater. And you can see that this rover is going through and it's doing something, it's flattening the horizontal part of the crater, like creating a basin. And it's issuing smoke out the rear. I have pictures of pyramids. I have pictures of satellites on the moon. I have pictures of spacecraft. Some are 22 kilometers long. There are a lot of pictures that I got. And I'm creating a YouTube video. It's just costing me time to do. I already created one on Mars where they found cities, vegetation, water, animals. It's all documented there. And now I'm creating one on the moon, which is just absolutely phenomenal what there is.
Were you ever approached by the military or the American government regarding your contacts?
Yep. I forgive the word, but I was young and stupid. Overjoyed with the huge download that I had. It was just exploding to get out. And this is why those brothers came and kind of like, ah, Wyatt. I wrote to the government. And I don't know where I have the letter, but Captain Kohut, Kohut, you can look it up, Kohut, wrote back. He wanted more information, detailed information. I wrote back and I give him a little bit. He wrote back and he was threatening. I want it all. Then suddenly I had like this awareness that, okay, it has to stop here. Do this. So I wrote back, and on purpose, I made myself look like I was demented, insane. I was off the hook. But let me tell you that over my career, which has been in IT management, I have gone one day from glowing reviews not 100%, 150%, a huge pay raise for the good job I was doing, perfect work. 2 days later, let go of. My employer could not explain why. It started happening when I started publishing Legacy and giving conferences. I eventually had to retire at age 62 because I just could not live with it. It was getting very difficult to hold any type of work. I couldn't even get piano lessons. So yes,
I'm sorry you went through that. Let's say one last story. Could you get into the April 9th, 2017 event?
well, sure. I was actually driving back from Miami to a home in Illinois, and we stopped in Tennessee. I forget the city now, but we had to rest. Sometime around, I think it was 2, 3 a.m. I forget the details. I have this dream, space background, the Vulpecula constellation was in the background, and I see these 4 slim, tall beings dressed in black, Alpha Centaurians. And they're telling me 100 Dorados, a constellation in the south, 100 Dorados is the home of the reptilians. Remember, 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 remember. And I wake up. 100 Dorados. I've heard of 20 Dorados and 30 Dorados, but 100 Dorados? Well, didn't know what that was. So, okay, I'm going to remember that. I go to sleep. Instant replay, everything identical. Then I wake up again. Remember, but this time the remember was really strong. Remember, remember. And I wake up in a shock. And I write down, I drew everything. The Vulpecula, the guys that were there, the position of what would be the Veil Nebula. But there was something interesting. There were 2 F-type stars covering the Veil Nebula. I said, those stars are not there. That's the Veil Nebula. That's the wispy circle from a supernova. What does this mean? Well, I wrote it all down, and then I just plummeted to sleep. And immediately I saw myself flying towards a balcony in a very advanced city. It was kind of like a window, basically. I go there. The 4 beings were there waiting for me. They saluted, typical salute. They started talking. I went so fast. I was taken out so fast that I was kind of like a grubby. I could not understand what they were saying. It took me about 15, 20 seconds. And then they finally said, okay, are you here? Are you all right now? And then they started giving me a message. Said, we're very sad about the state of your people. You're hurting. You're stealing from one another. We can't, that really saddens us, something to that effect. Life is a reincarnation mission, but you wasted on excesses. Super gamma cars, fancy stuff, biggest house you can think of. That's not what life is for. Life is to study yourself. And then they said, your mind is the reason for both your physical and mental afflictions. There's no such thing as disease. And they take me into a lab. They showed me instruments, literally like in Venus. They just show up. They're stored in a different plane, and they bring them down whenever. You want a blue sofa? They download a sofa, blue. You want a yellow? No, it's yellow. They have infinite storage of stuff in these other planes, so they can take stuff up, bring them down. They don't have like a closet where you open up and you put your clothes in there. They put them in another plane. They're playing in space for everything. So these consoles come up and they start opening up doors. Walls are made of pure energy. There's not solid. Wall opens up. There's a lab in there. It's a healing lab where the type of healing is to correct your DNA. But then a doctor comes up and takes me to another lab. And then they do a checkup. They take this wand and kind of wand me around, and then I see a picture of my liver in midair. And above it, the spiritual counterpart from which the physical liver appears on this plane. Again, the storage concept. The liver is really stored in another plane. It's brought down through reincarnation, solidified. I don't know if that makes sense. So physical manifestation is your mind bringing that liver, that stomach, that heart, and the DNA for it into this plane to conception to form it. But then they showed me something. Between the physical and the higher plane version of the liver, I saw these flashes, red flashes and yellow flashes. And I said, what is that? And I saw the liver being affected. Every time there was a flash, I saw something happen to the liver. And I said, that's your ego. Like we said, your mind is responsible for every physical and mental affliction. It's your ego that blocks the full transmission of the signal of your liver to appear on the physical. You want to cure your liver? Fix your head. And then they said, well, we can fix your liver. And if we fix it, you're going to live like 1,000 years or something like that. And I said, really? They said, yeah, all we have to do, we cut you up, we apply radiation to your liver, and we seal it up again. Then we put you in that lab you saw before, give you DNA radiation, and you're all set. And I go, really? Yes? Sure? Like, I was scared. What's the problem? We just cut you and sew you up again, and you're all set. Well, I have to decline. Because if it's done for me, I'm getting ahead of the line for 8.2 billion other people. I don't want to be privileged. So they explain how the DNA works. They explain genes. They explain the glutamyl process. A glutamyl process is broken. Chromosomes 1 and 20. I have that documented on my webpage. It causes, what is glutamyl? Glutamyl is a process where you take glycine, cysteine, and glutamine, bring it into your cell, and create glutathione. Glutathione cleans up your cell, gets rid of radicals, and you're all set. The cell is renewed to keep going. It also helps keep your telomeres up and steady so you have no DNA replication tantrums. Well, that process is broken. And why is it broken? We suffer from what they call a fourth generation disease. Genetic. We're sick. From the time we're 20, we begin to die. The liver begins to shrink. Blood flow begins to decrease to the liver, and there's the end. The lack of glutathione in your body creates pancreatitis, creates problems with the, some people call it heavy metals in your body. No, it's a lack of glutathione. And then people go as far as to start taking pills because they have high blood pressure, they have sugar in their blood. It's all a lack of glutamate. So there is a Band-Aid. There's not a fix. The fix is what they were offering, but the Band-Aid is basically to take glycine, cysteine, and glutamine, and then take astaxanthin. This is not a medical remedy. This is all herbs. So what that does is it causes glutamate to fire. And you're taking the amino acids that the cells require to do their thing. And it fixes your telomere problem. You don't replicate your cells wrongly anymore, and aging kind of like comes to a screeching halt. You're going to have good defenses against Alzheimer's, diabetes, hyperthyroidism, or hypothyroidism, and many other diseases. You are basically doing what your head should be doing, because it's the head that is blocking this function. That and the fact that we started eating red meat. That's how we got messed up. And we've been eating dead flesh for 12,000 years. That's why we're in the state that we're in. Why? Read it up. There's a thing called 5-NEUGA and 5-NUEGC. Two proteins. The A is human. The C is animal. They look very much alike, except the C has an extra hydroxide. So when we ingest red meat and digest it, it goes into the bloodstream, and the system says, oh, you have 5-NEUGC. Oh, 5-NEUGA. It looks just like A. Come on in. So what does that do? It goes to your veins. The hydroxide gets stuck to a cell, starves it, kills it, corrupts it, turns it into cancer, creates a tumor. How long does it take the body to get rid of red meat from its system? Guess. 50 years. Chicken, 3 days. Fish, 3 days. Fruits and vegetables, 24 hours. Sorry. So now you can see why we're genetically sick.
Before we finish off the interview, let's get into the Legacy series. Now, the Legacy series is an autobiography of you written in novel form about scientific and spiritual topics. Could you get briefly into each one?
Sure. I started writing Legacy in 1976 when I had that Mars attack experience. I wrote 1 page. But then with time, I started seeing more and more parts of the story. And I started writing them separately, like past life testimonies. Before you knew it, I had a huge book of notes. And I said, well, how am I going to write the story if I don't write the principles of that way of life? I can describe, I don't know, the Holocaust or the Roman imperial times, but I'm not describing the feelings behind the people. I had the feelings. So I decided to write a novel based in the future where I began to describe how these beings from other worlds talk, walk, dress, believe, eat, even sleep, to begin to understand how things were at other times, living among those people. So in the first episode series, I began to have past life recalls, which I document. And slowly I began to add human the human elements to the story, how it happened, how I felt, why I did what I did, how far back did this influence? I mean, we're talking about Mars attack 125,000 years ago. Well, a million years ago, I had a similar experience. That was the beginning of it all. So, the second episode, it's all about that million year ago experience. Episode number 3 is about thousands of years later, the colonization of Earth. What happened? Episode number 4 is how Lemuria, what happened in Lemuria? How did it grow? How did it sink? Episode 5, how did the war take place? What happened? Who were the instruments? How did I blow it? Why? And then what I did in the end. Why did Martians get back? Why did they reconstruct underground? A disaster, a stellar disaster to which I have evidence, was one of the things that brought the end of the surface of Mars as well as Earth, the destruction of Lemuria. Then it goes on to episode 6, which is kind of prophetic. Something's going to happen in the future, but I don't give an exact date. I'm not allowed. And 7, which is what happened after the wars on Mars. So that is the episode series. It's kind of a transitional story told from the point of view of someone who is explaining how they went from a non-believer to a contactee to an experiencer. What were the steps? What was I told by these beings to help me get there? What advice did they give me? How did they tell me? What did I suffer when I saw those things? What were my fears, my angers? How did I view them? How did I feel? That is important because I could tell a story, but a story is just a story. Another thing is to make it therapeutic for you. Because all of us, if we go through something like this, are going to have similar feelings, similar reactions. This is critical. So that's what legacy is. It's a stepwise guide, almost an autobiography written in multiple time frames to bring to life my learning experience, my degaussing of the ego, and evidence, a lot of evidence, as to what I saw in the past.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Robert, we need to get you back on for part 2. I love all these. I appreciate all the details that you got into today, and especially the fact that your contacts are a positive nature. We need more of these. So thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Anytime, I am at your disposal.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, anyone has any questions, I am always reachable by any means. I always respond. So I don't want there to be any doubts. So if anybody has any need, personal evidence, whatever is needed, I'm ready to provide it.
So thank you again, Robert. And to those watching, hope you enjoyed today's interview. I'm your host, Mr. Great. More interviews coming up, and I will see you guys next time. So take care, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Great, and thanks for watching today's episode. If you are an abductee, contactee, or experiencer, and you believe that your story could help others, please feel free to contact me through my YouTube channel email. When it comes to experiencers, the ET phenomena, and the future, remember, truth will out.